And, well, it's extremely on the opposite end of, say, Saudi Arabia, but it's a lot more liberal than even Egypt was, which surprised me. Yes.
Can you conduct your relationship with the Malian government?
Thank you for asking that. I forgot to mention that before, in French.
French?
Right.
So you have to speak fluent French to
Right.
post it here.
Right.
When you
Well,
go
at least
into
at a certain
Explain about the headsets and sort of the order of the day.
With all of you. It's my real pleasure to share what I know about Mali and Senegal with you on this trip, and to join you as we see what I think will be really exciting and enriching parts of the world that to me are very, very new, very fresh, and to echo what Anne and Christy both said, this is a part of the world that's very special because of the way that it brings together so many different traditions and different cultures and blends them in exciting ways. And you'll hear me talk a lot about blending, because that's what my work studies at the University of Oregon. And I first got interested in Africa when I was an undergrad at a place called Stanford. At that time, I, a few years later, continued my studies at a small university, a public university across the San Francisco Bay that is known to some of you. And while I was there,
Small, unimportant.
That's right. While I was there, I had the opportunity to go to Senegal and lived in Senegal. Here we go, back to Senegal, for about a year and a half. My wife was with me at that time. She wanted to come on this trip, but our two little kids said no, so she stayed home. But in any of cultures and practices in politics and economics. And this picture is actually taken at the traditional fertility celebration in the village called Tukar that we're going to go visit next week. We're supposed to be playing a little music here to set the mood, but that's all right. Africa is about 1/5 of the world's landmass, about 400 million people, growing very quickly. It's the part of the world whose population is growing faster than any other region. And it's a region that in some ways is the least connected to what we call globalization, to the economic changes that have been going on in the last 10 or 15 years, bringing the world smaller and closer together. Africa is the part that's been most left behind. And in some ways, this is to Africa's detriment in terms of economic development, and we'll talk about that. But in other ways, it makes Africa one of the most fascinating places to be, because it stands out as a region that's very, very distinctive and still follows its own rhythms and its own ways, rather than listening to the drumbeat of multinational corporations or the World Bank. That it tends to be a distinctive place. We're going to see a place that has been strongly influenced by the colonial past, by the presence of French and British powers, and the way that the interaction between Europeans and Africans really shaped what Africa is like today. We're going to be looking at a place where rural communities and rural family life are still extremely important forces in governing how people spend their time, how they work, and how they live. And even if you live in the city, most people in places like Bamako and Dakar have a connection to a place like this that they care for, that they send money to, that they visit every year. And in some ways, it's still the case that in Mali and Senegal, this is the cornerstone of how community and life and people's worldviews are organized. We're going to be in a place that is renowned for its artistic creativity and ingenuity, going back centuries and continuing into the present day. A place whose visual culture is in some ways stunningly a reminder that human civilization has been here for a long time and has contemplated issues that are universal. And you'll see this particularly in the arts that we'll get a chance to experience.